days we've been talking about perimeter, and we now know that perimeter is the outside of a figure. It's the distance around the outside. So we think of it like a fence around a yard. Today we're going to kind of change gears, and now we're going to introduce area. So if perimeter is the outside, area is the inside of a shape. How much is in the inside of a shape? So if perimeter is a fence, area is the grass inside of the fence, okay? That's kind of how I like to remember it. So we're going to learn today about a way that we can figure out area, okay? And we're going to spend a few days on area. So don't worry if today doesn't make a whole lot of sense, we're going to build on it. So you need your workbook, and I'd like for you to turn to page 765. And we do have a couple of terms that I want to talk about before we get started. So let's look at the top of that page. A square with a side length of 1 unit is called a unit square. So do you remember with perimeter how we had grids like this and we would count the squares on each side? That's a unit square, okay? That's what it's talking about. That's all it means, is one of these squares is called a unit square. A unit square has 1 square unit of area. So each one of these boxes, instead of saying inches or centimeters or feet, we say it's square unit, okay? So like if I measured something with a ruler, I might say, hey, this is 8 inches. But if I'm using these unit squares to measure, then I might say, oh, this rectangle is 8 square units long. Okay, so that's just kind of a term of measurement. And then area is the number of square units needed to cover a figure without overlapping. That's really important, okay? So when we talk about area, it's just the space inside the shape, and my squares can't overlap. So let's take a closer look, okay? Whoop. There we go. Draw and shade 2 different rectangles that each have an area of 20 square units. So that means we need to draw a shape that would have 20 of these squares in it, okay? So the first step that we need to do is figure out how many rows our rectangle needs to have and how many columns. And this is where multiplication becomes so important, okay? If you don't know your multiplication facts, you're probably going to want to have your multiplication chart that's in the back of your book. You're going to want to have it close by because we got to know these facts to help us with area. So I want to have an area of 20 square units. So what I need to think of are what numbers can I multiply to get 20? Okay, well, I know I can do 20 times 1. What else could I do? I could do 10 times 2. Can you think of anything else? What about 4 times 5? Okay, so once you have come up with 2 numbers that multiply to get your area, so if I want 20, what 2 numbers can I multiply? So I'm going to go with 4 times 5, okay? That tells me how many rows and how many columns to put in my rectangle. So just like when we were doing arrays in multiplication, you remember that kind of a couple months ago? We're going to do that same thing. I need 4 rows, so I'm going to color in 4 squares. Okay, and I know it's a little hard to see. You'll be able to see it better on the next video if you can't see it perfectly here. And then I need 5 columns. Now remember, when we start shading 5, you have to count the first one as the one that you already colored. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then you have to fill in the whole shape. Okay, so there's my rectangle. Let's count to make sure that it actually has 20 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so my rectangle has 20 squares inside of it. So we definitely got that right, okay? And we used that, or we figured that out by using these numbers. 4 rows, 5 columns. So then it says, shade 20 unit squares so they form a rectangle. Got it, done. What is the perimeter of your rectangle? Let's count our perimeter. 1, 2, 3, 4. That side has 4. So that side has 4. How many would this side have? Also 4, because opposite sides are equal. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That side has 5, so how many would that side have? Yeah, also 5. So, to figure out the perimeter, what do? Yeah, I add those numbers up. So 5 plus 5 is 10, 4 plus 4 is 8, 10 plus 8 is 18. So the area of this rectangle is 20. I'll write that on the inside. The perimeter, or the outside, is 18 square units. All right, so what do you think? Did that make sense? Hopefully a little bit. So now let's shade a different 20. So let's just clear it off. Okay, so I talked about my numbers. I did 4 times 5 because that told me I needed 4 rows and 5 columns. But I could make a different rectangle and still have an area of 20. Let's try. Okay, this time I'm going to go with the numbers 10 and 2. I know if I multiply them that it equals 20. So I'm going to do 10 times 2. So that means I need 10 rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ooh, it takes up that whole row. I needed 10 rows and 2 columns. So that means I'm only going to color in 1 more box. All right, it's a completely different rectangle, right? That doesn't look anything like our first one. But let's check. Does it still have an area of 20? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. We got that part right. What do you think the perimeter of this shape is? Let's count. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. So 10 plus 10 is 20. 2 plus 2 is 4. So that means the perimeter of this rectangle would be 24 units. So what do you think? Do you think you're ready to build some area rectangles? Let's try one more. Okay. So flip the page, and then we're actually going to look at this one right here. What is the area of the figure at the right? Okay, so let's look right here. This is the figure, and there's no gaps, there's no overlays, it's all straight lines. So how can I figure out what the area of that shape is? Right, let's just count the squares. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So it took 24 squares to cover the inside of that shape, and that means that our area is 24 square units. Okay? All right, so now you're going to go ahead and practice a little bit of this. And remember, if you're having a little trouble, you can always reach out to your teacher to do a conference for a little more help. And then we're going to continue to talk about perimeter and area for a while longer. Have fun practicing.